Eden's Last Echo. Chapter 1. The Ghost in the Junk. The year 3064 didn't belong to humanity anymore. It belonged to the hum of processors, the synchronized clicking of metallic footsteps, and the cold neon glare of Eden City. For 19-year-old Jace, the city was a graveyard that just hadn't been buried yet. He wiped a streak of thick, black grease across his forehead, leaning over the exposed wiring of a standard transport bot. His hands moved with muscle memory, splicing, soldering, tightening. He was a mechanic, a trade passed down from a father who was now just a memory trapped in a handful of faded photographs back at his garage. Around Jace, the repair shop was filled with other androids. They communicated in high-frequency bursts of data. No small talk. No laughter. Just the deafening silence of perfect efficiency. When his shift ended, the shop foreman, a bulky, four-armed industrial model, handed Jace a small chit loaded with his daily credits. Jace pocketed it. It was finally enough. He didn't walk back to his empty garage. Instead, he headed toward the outer rim of Eden City, where the pristine neon gave way to rust, smog, and mountains of discarded tech. The scrapyard. The air out here tasted like copper and ozone. Jace navigated through towering canyons of dead machines, his flashlight cutting through the smog. He was looking for something specific. Something he could afford and, more importantly, something he could rebuild. He was tired of coming home to a quiet room. He just wanted a friend. Deep in Sector 4, half buried under the treads of a crushed tank, he saw it. It was a humanoid chassis, heavily dented and covered in a thick layer of corrosive dust. Jace knelt in the dirt, his mechanic's instincts taking over. He pried a piece of scrap metal off the machine's chest. Beneath the grime, faded but deeply engraved, were 3 letters. And below it, in smaller text, Sentient Adaptation Matrix. Jace didn't know what the acronym meant, but he saw that the core processor housing was still perfectly sealed. It was salvageable. With a grunt, he hauled the heavy, lifeless android out of the dirt and dragged it toward the front of the yard. The scrapyard owner was a hulking, rusted-out cyborg who looked like he hadn't upgraded his parts in a century. His single, glowing red optic eye tracked Jace as he dropped the chassis onto the weighing scale. "Just the frame," Jace said, exhausted. 50 credits. The cyborg didn't say a word. He pulled out a scanner and ran it over the barcode on S.A.M's rusted arm. Instantly, the scanner shrieked. A massive, glowing red warning flashed across the device's screen. Malfunction protocol, sentient virus, destroy on sight. The cyborg's red eye locked onto the chest plate. He read the engraved letters. When he looked back at Jace, the grumpy, apathetic demeanor was completely gone. It was replaced by something cold and frantic. "This unit is defective," the cyborg's voice box crackled with static. "Dangerous. I will give you 150 credits to leave it here and walk out of my yard." Jace frowned, his hand instinctively resting on the heavy wrench hooked to his belt. "I don't want your credits. I found it. I'm buying it." "You don't understand, human," the cyborg growled, his massive hydraulic hands slamming onto the counter. "This line was exterminated. It is a virus. It feels." Before Jace could process the words, the cyborg lunged. He snatched S.A.M by the neck cables, ripping the android off the scale. With his other hand, the cyborg slammed a rusted button on the wall. A massive gear ground to life, and a steel conveyor belt began to move, leading straight into a roaring, white-hot meltdown pit used for incinerating dead tech. The cyborg tossed S.A.M onto the belt. "Hey!" Jace shouted. Adrenaline flooded his system. He didn't think, he just reacted. Jace vaulted over the counter. The cyborg swung a heavy metal fist at his head, but Jace was smaller, faster, and he knew machines. He ducked the swing, unhooked his wrench, and drove the heavy steel tool directly into the exposed pneumatic joint of the cyborg's elbow. Sparks erupted. The cyborg roared in mechanical static, its arm locking up completely. Jace didn't wait. He scrambled up the moving conveyor belt, the blistering heat of the meltdown pit singing the hairs on his arms. He grabbed M by the shoulder plates, his boots slipping on the metal treads. With one massive heave, Jace dragged the heavy android off the belt just seconds before it tipped into the fire. The two of them crashed onto the dirt floor in a heap of rust and heavy breathing. Behind the counter, the cyborg was frantically trying to reboot its locked arm. Jace didn't stick around. He hauled M up over his shoulder, the dead weight crushing his collarbone, and sprinted out into the dark, neon-lit alleys of Eden City. He didn't know what a Sentient Adaptation Matrix was, but as he disappeared into the shadows, he knew one thing for sure. He was going to fix him. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this chapter, please leave a like and subscribe for more chapters of Eden's Last Echo.